Hey there, Grateful Gang. It's Lauren Blanchard Zalewski here with my friend, Dr. Bruce Singer, who I will introduce in a minute. But thank you for tuning in. It's an honor that I have Dr. Singer here, and I'll tell you what our connection is in a minute. But I mentioned him a lot. He's in our group, but he also has his own group, and I mentioned him a lot. So if you've been around for a while, his name should be, not a new one to you. But if you're new to the group, it might be. So I'll explain all of that. Thank you for being here, Bruce.
It's my honor to be with you. I've done this with you before. I enjoy it. I'm all about gratitude. So it's really a pleasure to do this with you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm laughing when he said we've done this before because we did it one other time. I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, and technology hadn't made anything like dummy proof for me yet. So I was using, I think it was Google Hangouts, and Jackie, who was my roommate at Silver Hill where we met, she was my admin, and we were interviewing him, and it was the most fantastic interview, but there was so much feedback and stuff. It's kind of painful to sit through. So hopefully we'll have a better one for the books.
Well, you haven't changed. I've gotten grayer, more wrinkled, and
well,
much older. But
if the virus keeps going around and I can't get my hair done, I will be getting grayer very shortly. Trust me. Got a couple comments already. Seton Silver, can you ask questions here, now, or during the live? You can ask questions whenever you want. For those,
and Gail.
Hi, Gail. Yeah. Hey, everybody. If you're new to the broadcast, let me explain a couple of things to you. Actually, really just one thing. We love interaction in this broadcast. We really treasure it because I feel like we all learn from each other, So any of these questions that you ask, we'll pop it up on the screen there. Hi, Arlene. Hello from Canada. And Wanda Harris. Hello, Bruce and Lauren from, hey, Judith.
Hi.
Wanda. Heidi, hi there. So if you're viewing in Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, because it is a closed group, StreamYard, which is the company that we do the broadcast on, will not have permission to put your name up with your questions unless you give it first. So when you logged in, like here's one, they'll just call it Facebook user. And if it's fine, if you would like to leave it like that, that's totally fine. I just want to kind of alert you guys that if you come up with that and you want your name to come up, I've been told that if you log out, log back in, there will be a question that they ask, and you just click on it just to give them permission. Diana, she's my morning buddy listening to your affirmations, Bruce.
Oh, great.
Good evening to everyone. Linda Edwards, thank you guys so much for, I know your time's valuable. I know you seem to have a lot more time on your hands these days, but I really appreciate you coming out and trying to learn how to do this. Did I say the name of the show? I have it on a sticky because I keep forgetting the name of the show. Gratefully Living the Chronic Life. It's starting to roll off the tongue a little bit more. So yes, the first timers, if you could just do that, and then you can ask as many questions as you want, any comments, any ideas that you have, and we'll try to get to them all. Got Denise Gorgie. Hi, Denise. Jen Leos, my buddy.
Yeah, lots of people.
Glendale. These, I bet most of these people are in your group too, aren't they?
Yep. Yeah.
So let me explain who. I have a hard time calling you Bruce. You're always Dr. Singer to me. I'm trying to get over that.
You could call me Dr. Bruce.
Dr. Bruce, okay. Let me get to his bio, which is in his book, which we will get to, Blacked Out Moments Every Day. Bruce F. Singer is a psychologist and outspoken patient advocate whose compassion, humor, intelligence, and spirituality have helped empower thousands of people around the world recover from pain and addiction. Well respected for his ability to make CBT, mindfulness, and acceptance and commitment therapy accessible to all, He created and directed the Chronic Pain and Recovery Center at Silver Hill Hospital in New Canaan, Connecticut, and served as chief of psychology at Crossroads Center, Antigua. I was saying to him today, what a hardship that must have been, Antigua. He sits on the medical advisory board to the U.S. Pain Foundation and is a board member of Chronic Pain Anonymous. The author of numerous articles, he taught at the California Institute of Integral Studies, trains clinicians throughout the United States, and was the chief clinical officer at Urban Recovery Center in Brooklyn, New York. Before becoming a psychologist, he was a successful Hollywood writer with many produced credits to his name. I remember being fascinated by that. I still kind of am, actually. And I've got all his contact information, which I'll put up for you. Actually, I'll put it up right now for a minute if I can find it. This program makes me look like I'm some kind of technical genius. Believe you me, I am not. So my relationship with Dr. Singers, I was a patient of Bruce's almost 7 years ago. I met him at his stint at the Chronic Pain and Recovery Center at Silver Hill Hospital. And like many who got there, I think I said this last week, we've only been on for 4 weeks, I think. Me and just like a lot of people who got there, we don't come flying in on the wings of victory. I was certainly in a really bad spot with alcohol, which was my primary pain medication. And it worked for a hot minute until it really didn't and almost destroyed my life. So I met Dr. Singer, who helped guide me for my month-long stay there. I will be forever grateful to him for his tutelage. I always call you my mentor because I really respect what it is that you try to do for, or you do for chronic pain patients. I said the try part because a lot of these pain programs are closing down. Silver Hills has closed down, which kind of breaks my heart.
Yeah. And I was just trying to help another psychologist place an older woman who was on opiates and benzodiazepines but was abusing them, workers' comp case, chronic pain. And he called me up and said, where can I put her, for residential treatment? And I couldn't really find a place. It's amazing to me, shocking to me in this day and age that there are so few. I don't even really know any. They open and then close. Maybe Ashley in Maryland, which is sort of a 12-step driven approach to chronic pain. But there was one in Pennsylvania, and that's closed. Out in California, that.
So did they practice Chronic Pain Anonymous at that? Or is it their own version of 12 steps?
It's their version of it. I don't know that they do CPA there. And that's something, by the way, which I know you were going to mention, and I'll mention it. We both sit on the board of trustees of Chronic Pain Anonymous, which yes. You can talk a little bit more about, or I can.
Yeah.
But it's very, very hard to find an interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary residential program for people with chronic pain. And by multidisciplinary, I mean, it would have not just therapy with psychologists or social workers like I do, but there's going to be exercise-based physical therapy.
I forgot about the exercise part of that.
4 days a week.
Yeah.
Aquatic therapy 4 days a week.
And you tailored everybody's workout program
that's right.
for each individual person. It was amazing.
Everyone received an evaluation from each doctor and therapist when they came in. So these are very kind of labor-intensive programs to run, and yet no insurance companies will pay for them.
That's what the problem is, how the insurance companies.
Very expensive to operate.
Yeah.
When you were at Silver Hill, it was probably something like $44,000 was the sort of basic cost.
Yeah.
And the only, people who could pay for it where they either were well off or they had workers' comp or they had a financial aid of some kind. And it always bothered me that let's say you took I'll just name an insurance company. They're all guilty of it, but I'll just name one. because it's here in Connecticut where I am, which is the Hartford. So Hartford Insurance, big insurance company. If you fell in your home and were injured and you needed to go and get rehabbed at a residential chronic pain center because maybe things just sort of went downhill and it became a chronic injury and your life was falling apart because of it, they would not pay a dime for you to go to a place like Silver Hill. But if you were injured on the job and Hartford was your workers' comp insurance, they would pay the full amount, almost no questions asked. And it's just always got under my skin. Like, why would they do it for people with workers' comp, but they wouldn't do it for someone who was not injured on the job? It didn't make sense. Why would they fight against that? And yet they would turn around and pay for it for someone else.
And what if somebody was in deep trouble, like I was with alcohol, but say with pills,
Exactly.
Overdosing, would they pay for that?
Right. So maybe they would pay a substance behavioral health benefit, but that might only be a couple of $100s a day. I don't mean to go into the weeds with all this.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger global point is people with chronic pain deserve parity in how they're treated. If you can go to a substance use recovery center and insurance will pay for it, it ought to pay for you to go to a chronic pain treatment center. And it used to be that way. And I'll just talk a little bit about the history. I mean, we're not talking about gratitude here for a moment, but
That's okay.
I'll talk about this and we'll move on to much happier things. But there were used to be, 20, 30 years ago, many, many more residential chronic pain treatment centers. They were all over the country. And often they were cognitive behavioral therapy driven kind of places. But they were expensive relative to the time. And then the insurance companies, which were paying for them and paid for these, discovered, because of pharmaceutical companies like Purdue, that if you gave people opiates for chronic pain, it was a lot cheaper than sending them to a 4-week-long or 5-week-long residential treatment center.
Wow.
So they weighed those costs and they went with the opiates as a kind of monotherapy for chronic pain. All those treatment centers went away except a handful of them, and those are gone now.
Yeah.
And of course, we saw the unintended consequences over the 20 years from the late 90s when OxyContin was introduced into the chronic pain marketplace until what's happening now, where we have 70,000 people a year or more overdosing from these pain pills. And we have a whole war between the CDC and government recommendations and what doctors who are prescribing these are afraid to do, and then weaning people or stopping people off these pills who've been on them for years and get some benefit from them, and shaming people who maybe have no addiction whatsoever, just a dependency on opiates, and shaming them into feeling like they're addicts and taking away these medications that maybe were helping their quality of life.
Right.
So it's created so many unintended consequences, so much friction, so much of a gap between treatment and patient, so to speak, that I don't know how you bridge this. I mean, I believe there's a way utilizing things like gratitude and mindfulness, acceptance and commitment therapy to help people develop a quality of life despite pain, and to be able to function with more meaning and purpose, even if they do have pain. But for me,
and that's what our group aims to do. And you have a group also, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I've never had a doctor that asked me if I wanted to go get emotional help, for my chronic pain and illness. And it's not necessarily their fault, but the medical system really should provide something.
It's a lack of training. And again, where I'm coming from as a psychologist, because I can't prescribe these things anyway. To me, the bottom line is always a person's quality of life. If they're not on any pills and they have a great quality of life, terrific. If they're on something, but they have a great quality of life, terrific. It's when they're on something and their quality of life is really terrible. Where there's intense suffering, or someone comes to me and says their pain is 30 over 10.
Yeah.
And I'm going like, well, 10 over 10 is the most you could have, but they're saying they have 30 over 10, and they're taking huge amounts of opiates. Then I begin to question, what is the benefit of that medication?
Right.
If your pain is 30 over 10 and you're on enough medication to kill me, maybe there's a different way. But that's a individual case by case decision.
Right.
And anecdotally, I can tell you, and there's research that people become hyperalgesic. They are more sensitive to pain being on painkillers than being off them. I've seen it many times, but that's a very hard thing to convince someone of in the midst
Sure.
of pain.
Yeah, that's their hope that they're hanging on to, you know, and
Right.
next time it'll work. Next time it'll work, and they don't
Right.
realize, doesn't the body get more sensitive to it, so it requires more, and then they start to turn on you. Yeah.
And then the thing is, if you just take those pills away, it's cruel and inhumane. You have to offer something in return, and that's why an interdisciplinary.
And this isn't an anti-opiate, anti-pill talk, everybody.
Not
hopefully you hear what he's saying.
But for those people maybe who had an addiction to pills and were overusing them, and it was more than just the pain, but there were emotional reasons and trauma in the past that fed into a kind of addiction. But even if they were just dependent on it and wanted to come off these because they didn't want to be on them because of how the pills made them feel, and they had nothing to do with addiction, if we just took them away, it wouldn't be fair. So we tried to give them things like meditation and exercise and mindfulness, cognitive behavioral approaches, to give them something to replace the pills with.
Right.
If that makes a kind of sense.
Yeah, and you have your topic yesterday, and your group affirmation was willingness. You have to have that willingness to try it. You know, with AOG, I talk about this quite a bit. You know, the concept of it sounds ridiculous. You're not allowed to talk about, you know, what you have and your specific acute issue, because we want to start on the same playing field. It's basically just a place to escape it once in a while. It's not meant to replace anything. But some people are very skeptical, and others come in and they're willing to try to give it a shot. It's usually people that have been sick or injured for a while and have just, had it.
Well, it's this is what led to the whole concept of black ducks and white ducks for me, because I saw that people became locked through no fault of their own because of the pain and their particular situation. They became locked into smaller and smaller boxes of conventional kind of thinking, where it just seemed like something outside of them was going to be the thing that could fix them. And they were constantly looking for a way to be fixed. And I was sitting there seeing these beautiful people in front of me who were just in a lot of emotional and physical pain, but they were essentially whole people if they could come and see themselves as I was seeing them.
Right.
And I'll put you into that same category. So it was really a lot about getting people to see their essential wholeness, that they can be shattered and whole is what I always say. We're all shattered in some way, emotionally, physically. But if we just focus on the shattered piece, on what I call the white ducks, then we miss the essential wholeness that we have in our great strengths and capacities and potential, which is what I call the black ducks. They're the exceptions to habitual automatic ways of thinking.
Right.
And that
I'm going to ask you to explain the black white ducks in a minute, because it's a great story and I remember it from when I was there. But I just wanted to, you were talking about wholeness, and in your affirmations yesterday, there was a fantastic quote, and I wrote it down. You said, the opposite of misery is not happiness, it is wholeness.
Right.
That one hit me like a ton of bricks. It was beautiful. Right. And it was a great way to look at it.
Well, it's the story, if you'll indulge me to tell the story,
Sure.
that I used to tell all the time at Silver Hill and everywhere that I've worked. And I only have told it 1,000 times because of the first time that I encountered this story, and it was so powerful to me and resonated so deeply with me. I just felt instinctively it would resonate with the people that I worked with, and I think it has. But it's what I call the Chicago Art Museum story, and I don't know that you remember it,
No.
but essentially the Chicago Art Museum, the board there was deciding that they wanted to do a temporary show, and they thought of different ideas for temporary shows, and they got the idea that maybe they could put out a call for disabled artists, and they knew there were disabled artists with who could present their work, and they could do a temporary show at the museum. So they put out this call, and no one responded, and it was very confusing to them. So they reached out to one of the artists, and they said, well, we want these people, but no one responded to the invitation. Why is that? And the artist said, well, maybe we don't want to be called disabled artists. Maybe you should change that language a little bit. So they did. And I can't tell you what the exact language was. Maybe they just said artists with disabilities. But then they got lots of artists to send their work in. And one of the
Interesting.
artists, and one of the artists was a sculptor in marble. I think he was paralyzed from the waist down. And what he fashioned was an enormous sphere out of marble. He took a slab of marble and did all those things, hammered away at it, and worked on it until he had created a perfectly round sphere, but huge. And he didn't stop there. What he then did was take a sledgehammer or a jackhammer, and he just destroyed it into 1,000 pieces. But he didn't stop there. What he then did was take all those pieces, and I don't know how he put them back together with glue or duct tape or whatever he did, but he made the sphere again out of those broken pieces. And he called that piece of art Shattered and Whole.
Oh, wow.
And that became the name of the show. And when I first heard that story, it was like, wow, that's me. That's everyone I know. We're all shattered.
Shattered and whole.
But we're
Shattered.
whole as well.
That's
Exactly.
fantastic.
And we spend so much time focused on our deficits, on what's wrong with us, that we don't ask the basic question of what is not wrong with us.
Mm.
And if you just sat here, those of you watching this, and just ask yourself, what's not wrong with me? What is not wrong with me? Because it's easy with our interoceptive awareness, our awareness of what's inside of us, to figure out very easily what's wrong. As I sit here, I can feel the numbness in my foot, which is almost an oxymoron because it's numb. How can I feel it? But I know that there's something wrong with me. But if I take the time to ask the question, what's not wrong with me, many, many things begin to develop. And one of the most important of those is gratefulness and gratitude. And so that sort of led me to the concept of bringing gratitude into the world of chronic pain work. And it's not because studies show that if you're a more grateful person, you will experience less pain. I wish I could say there were studies that said that. There aren't. But there are studies that show that if you cultivate and practice gratefulness, you will become a happier person. It does increase happiness. And I would make the argument that a happier person is a person who's going to be less focused on their pain and all the hopelessness that may go with the chronic condition. Right. And if you're focused more on your happiness, then the people around you will be happier. It's infectious that way. But you'll begin to open yourself up to other concepts: compassion, presence, joy, all these wonderful things that emerge from gratefulness. But I think gratefulness is really one of those root experiences that we can allow ourselves, if we're willing to sit in silence, to pay attention to it, and then to go out and practice it. And there are different ways to practice it. We can do very kind of intentional gratitudes. And you do those a lot, with your group.
Yeah,
Um,
every day.
right. What
Yeah.
are 3 things I'm grateful for
Mhm.
today? And that's a very intentional thing because someone can sit down and write those gratitudes down. And in fact, studies show that if you sat down for a week and at the end of each day you wrote down 3 unique things that you were grateful for during your day, so you would ultimately end up with 21 unique gratitudes over the course of a week. And you stop there. So you did a gratefulness log for 1 week, 21
I did read
unique
that.
gratitudes. This is the work of Robert Emmons out of
Right.
UC Davis, he wrote the introduction to my book.
Right.
Um, your happiness will increase substantially over the next month, even if you don't write any more gratitudes beyond that 1 week. This is what his research shows. Your happiness will continue to increase. So there are ways to practice gratefulness intentionally, and maybe holding the door open. It's kind of an old-fashioned chivalry thing, but someone walks through and they say thank you. And but then they're kind of spontaneous or casual acts of gratitude that we can practice as well. I always tell the story, how I was at O'Hare Airport and I was flying coast to coast and I had to make a stop at O'Hare. And I had just enough time to get lunch in one of the food courts there. And of course, now the airport's probably empty, but when this story took
I
place,
think
which is
so.
many years
Mhm.
ago, the food court was just packed with people. And I was making my way down past all the little stalls to try and find something that I would eat. And the very last stall was a hamburger stand, and they had turkey burgers. And there was a big African American woman flipping the burgers in the back. I could see her. And I ordered a turkey burger and waited for it, and they gave it to me and paid for it. And then I made my way over to a stool and sat down at a crowded counter, and I took a bite of this turkey burger, and it was so good. It was like the
I
best
remember you
turkey
telling
burger.
this story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love to tell this. And so I ate this turkey burger, then I had to go and I had to walk past the hamburger stand. But I stopped and I yelled as loud as I could over all that noise in the food court. I yelled out to that cook in the back. I said, "Hey, thank you for that turkey burger. It was great." And she heard me and she broke into this big wide smile.
Yeah.
And for a moment, I just like to imagine that she was no longer a cook at a burger joint at the airport, but she was a chef. And
Aw.
and then I moved on, and
And you made somebody's day.
I made
And that
someone's
feels
day.
good to both of you, you know?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I felt, I mean, I'm still telling this story, and it's decades later, pretty much. And it was 5 seconds worth of taking the time to just say thank you. And I know we're going to talk about Brother David Stendhal Rast in just a
Yes.
little bit. And he says, if you say nothing more in a prayer, for those of you who are spiritual and pray, then thank you. That would be enough.
That's the prayer. Yeah.
So
Let's get to a couple comments. We'll get to you, Margaret DeCarico Morris. Looking forward to tonight. Thank you for being here. Jed says, glad you're here. I'm assuming that's not for me because I have to be here. No, Doctor,
I have nowhere
it's
else
for
to
you.
go. I was captive. She knew that.
This is Seaton. Hello to you both. Hi, Seaton.
Hi, Seaton. Good to see you.
So glad Bruce is here. Right? She cleared that up for me. Why do you think they closed the opium issue? Affected? I think
I don't think, just really quick, I don't think it was the opiate issue. I think it was the cost factor and the lack of insurance to support it and the lack of public policy on the part of politicians to sort of force the insurance companies to give parity to people with chronic pain. That's what I think.
Yeah.
It's a public health issue.
It is, and a really big one at that. It's a shame because you can stop these people from doing more damage to themselves, which in the end causes, more money. But it's a real shame. Who's this one? See what we got. Let's see. Jen, until the DRGs, what's a DRG? An insurance company started setting the treatments. Yep. Yeah. But I don't know what a DRG.
Yeah.
Arlene, sorry, these are a little late, guys, so I'm sure they were pertaining to what we were
No,
talking about.
but
Oh
they're
my goodness, so sad.
all relevant and good comments.
Arlene Hildred says, same happening here in Canada. Fentanyl patch is a lifesaver for me, but Canadian College of Physicians constantly waiting to take it from me. Yeah.
Right. And then, what I saw is that there were people on the fentanyl patch. And, of course, fentanyl is very powerful. But once it hit the streets and got mixed in with heroin,
Yeah.
that's where we began to see all these overdoses. And of course, if you're a person who hasn't worked for a long time, and we see this right now where people are out of work, there's huge food lines. We don't know where the next meal is going to come from for millions of people. And let's say you're a person with chronic pain and you've been cut off from your prescription, and now you're forced to go out on the street and buy something, and OxyContin costs $80 a pill, or this bag of heroin is $10 a bag. Which are you going to choose?
And it's the same opiate. Am I right about that?
Yeah, basically it is. And one's just synthesized and one is natural. But that bag of heroin might be cut with fentanyl. And that's where people overdose and die.
Yeah.
I was working in Brooklyn with a young man who, was playing a very dangerous game of shooting up heroin. And I just often I don't just directly confront someone I'm working with and say, hey, don't do this. Very often I take the exact opposite approach, which is to ask someone, what do you love about shooting up heroin? Just tell me what you love. I'm awfully curious, because I genuinely am curious as to why someone would want to, shoot up heroin. And often someone will then tell me over the next 30 seconds what they love about shooting up heroin. But then they'll spend the next 10 minutes telling me how it's destroyed their lives.
Yeah.
And all I asked them was what you love about it.
Yeah.
But sometimes I have to get direct. And with this young man, I said, you're going to die. And he said, no, my dealer is really good quality. I'm not going to die. And of course, he died.
Oh my God. That's so sad.
And it's so tragic. And especially for his family, because his brother had overdosed and died 10 years before. And now his parents lost both their sons that way.
Horrible.
So fentanyl can be very helpful. It was originally for cancer patients to help them. Chronic pain patients, that we certainly have prescribed it. We prescribed it at Silver Hill. But I've also seen people abuse it, and I've seen people die from it. So all of these things carry a risk factor that we have to just be mindful of. That's all we can do.
Yeah. Tracy Berger, my high school BFF. I can see why you love this man. He's awesome.
Oh,
Tracy came to Silver Hill 3 times and brought me cookies. Thanks, Bergie. I love you. Let's see. I got another seat. An artist is an artist. True. And a heart from Facebook user. I'm not sure if that's you, Denise, or whoever it is. Love you too. Loving this so far. What books would you recommend for gratitude, willingness, and commitment? Great. Let's come right back to that.
I'm gonna just quickly open up my book, because I don't remember the exact name, but I can tell you in 2 seconds.
Okay.
Because Robert Emmons, I believe I mentioned the books that he wrote.
I have a couple of them behind me. I figure if I have books on my shelf, it'll make me look very scholarly. And I do intend on reading them when I buy them. But mainly I just thumb through them. I love the stuff they say, but
yeah, I don't have it in my book. What
there's a couple.
He's written a couple of great books on gratitude. Robert Emmons is sort of
this is his bigger book, right? Gratitude Works.
Yeah, there he is.
And then he's got a tiny little one, which we did in our book club.
His last name is Emmons, and if you just look him up, I had the pleasure of interviewing him for a magazine article once. He's just a wonderful, genuine person.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
Who sort of fell into this whole gratitude thing and has made it his life's work, and really to the benefit of all of us. So a big shout out. Thank you to Robert.
Yeah. He's like, between he and brother David Steinel Raz, they're like the gratitude kings.
That's right.
Seaton says shattered and whole. I like that. Me too. I wrote it down, Seaton.
Yeah.
Thank you. Tracy says, "Oh my God, you crack me up. I love you. I love you too." Oh, you're talking about me looking scholarly with the books behind me, I bet. Yes, it's me. That's Denise. I don't know why my name isn't showing. Sorry, Denise. And Seton knew it was Robert Emmons. Do you have any other books you would recommend? The topic, I don't even think I've said the topic for tonight, but I did so much advertising because Bruce was coming that you probably know. It's how to find gratitude, how to stay grateful during difficult times.
I mean, I think this particular time throws a unique challenge at us that we'll probably never again see in our lifetimes, because it's really been 100 years since the last pandemic of this magnitude. And it's very easy, I think, when we're thrown such a curve in our lives to get reactive and to fall into a reactive state, behaviorally isolating, which we're all asked to do. But then the despair, the fear, the uncertainty, all these are reactive states that create greater anxiety or maybe depression within us. And I think that the key here is how can we move from reactivity to being what I call response able? Response able. How can we put ourselves in a position of responding to what's in front of us? And so we use tools such as gratefulness, such as compassion, such as connection, like what we're doing right here.
Right.
These are tools that we can use so that we can be in a place, a mindful place of being response able rather than reactive to what's in front of us and really out of our control.
Right. We've just added another. We were doing a chat. We've been doing our live chat on Wednesdays for several years now. Linda Edwards runs that for us. And we decided we wanted to offer a lot of different opportunities for people to try to get connection if they need it. So we just added a Tuesday night, and they've been very well attended. So since the virus started, so it's really great. And then this and the questions, you guys, they're just awesome. Tracy says, "You up to the books?"
The Little Book of Gratitude. That's a great one.
Yeah, Jen Leos just said that. Lauren, as a librarian, I should tell you that it is fine to browse for passages in nonfiction books. Pick out the parts that speak to you. I love you. Thank you. I'm so scholarly. Facebook user reply. Oh, okay. Sweden. Why do some people have a difficult time continuing their gratitude habit during difficult times? Boy, that's the best segue I've ever heard.
Because it's a great question. In part, my initial answer, right or wrong, is that we're conditioned by the culture that we live in to expect instant gratification. We, from the time we're little, and I think back to when I had my first toothache, and my mom gave me an orange flavored St. Joseph aspirin, to make that toothache better. We're indoctrinated into kind of a culture of chemical coping, where we
chemical coping. I've never heard of it like that. That's so true.
And we expect instant gratification for that. Take a pill, feel better. Whereas gratitude, like compassion or connection or empathy, these things are not instant gratification experiences. They take practice. We talked today about practice. They take time, and they don't always work the way you want them to work in the moment.
Right.
And so you have to sort of double down and accept that sometimes you're going to be more grateful than other times, but don't give up on it because it doesn't give you what you want instantaneously.
Right. And that's difficult as a chronic pain illness thriver, I like to say. It is difficult because not especially, but I was going to say, especially if you've lived with it for a very long time, which I know a lot of us have. It's, that hope that you get from a new doctor, new medication that they're trying, and it can be very difficult. We're always waiting, always waiting. Yeah.
And if you put your hopes in something outside of yourself and you get burned enough times, then all these hopes seem like false hopes, and you give up on the concept of hope. And I would say
And
that's a genuine risk for people with
yeah.
chronic conditions. So don't give up on gratitude. Brother David Stendhal Rast, and we're going to do something, it was a great question about what books are out there, but really Lauren and I had talked about the gratefulness.org website, which I want us to go to as a
I'm
group
going to go to
here
it right
tonight.
now. All right, let's see if I can do this.
Okay. Because Brother David Stendhal Rast, who is the big proponent behind it, he's kind of a hero of mine, and he's into his 90s now, an Austrian Benedictine brother who spent most of his life in upstate New York, where he lived in a Benedictine monastery, but now he's back in Austria. He made a rare trip back to the United States last year, and I got to go see him live up in Massachusetts. When you're struggling with gratitude, what Brother David says, and I sort of, it's like my little mantra for myself. When you wake up tomorrow morning, no matter how you're feeling, when you wake up tomorrow morning and you open your eyes, be grateful that you have eyes you can open. And if you start the day that way, before you even get out of bed, just being grateful that you can see, if in fact you can see, then you're bringing gratefulness into your life from the moment you wake up. And I think it's little things like that. Like he says, be grateful that you can turn on water and you have hot water and cold water and drinkable water. There's so many things. Lauren, you may or may not remember it, but with all my groups, I do a gratefulness group at all of my clinics. And I ask everyone who's sitting in the room, what can you be grateful for in the room that you're sitting in?
Of course I remember it, silly.
Yeah, and everyone sits there like this and says, there's nothing. And I say, you can't say God, you can't say a higher power, you can't say Dr. Singer, you can't say the people in the room, you can't say your family. It's just like, what can you be grateful for in this room? And in fact, any of you sitting at home right now, looking around your room, what can you be grateful for in your room? And I
remember that exercise like it was yesterday.
It stumps people. They just can't come up with it. And then ultimately, usually someone goes, well, the chair I'm sitting in. And it's, the chair you're sitting in, because there's millions of people who don't have chairs to sit in. And
or that you're able to sit.
Yeah. And then it's like the light, the light bulb. Yeah, you can flick a button and the light goes on, it goes off. Or there's an internet connection. We can see people around the world. Or there's art on the wall. There's paint on the wall. There's a window in the room. You can see outside. There's air conditioning. There's a door. I mean, there's carpet. Once you get going on gratefulness, even in just the little room you're in that you were so angry about a moment before, there's so much to be grateful for. So I think when you feel you've gotten to the end of your gratefulness rope, so to speak, and like there's just nothing more there, you got to sort of press the reset button, look around, be present, and just recognize everything that you have, all the gifts that you have that have been gifted to you that you can then pass on to others, and be grateful for those. So here we are on the website. So
I did it, I think.
I'm going to put my glasses on.
This is the gratefulness.org.
Yeah, this is such a great website. There's words for the day. There's poetry. There are essays. I did one for them on being grateful to chronic pain. There are videos, and I want us to look at one of the videos. And then there's one of my favorite things, which is light a candle. There. Let's go to that.
Working on it.
Hopefully we can click on that and get
it's not letting me. It's not letting me click. Oh, there it is. I think that's what just came up. Uh-oh, freaking out. There it is. Got it.
Light a candle. So what this is virtual candles that you can write down a gratitude, one person or a thing you're grateful for, and then light a candle, and it will burn for a number of days. And I think they're up to 21,566,000.
Is that right?
321 of these candles.
Yeah.
And I thought, from 194 countries, 2,447 candles just in the last 2 days. I thought, why not invite some guest here tonight, one of you, if you want to be a volunteer and offer up something you want to be grateful for, and we'll light a candle for everyone to enjoy.
That's
So who
cool.
wants to do it? Who wants to do it? I'll
I
let
love
you
it.
take over.
I love
Lauren,
it. If somebody wants to spearhead that, it can't be my famous saying, it can't be too much work, but that's a fabulous idea. And I know our beautiful members of AOG love this idea too. I just know it.
So who wants to volunteer and offer up gratitude? We'll see if we can light a candle together.
Do you want to go to Brother David Steindl-Rast video? Or not yet?
Well, let's light the candle first.
We're actually doing it now. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. To start a
We're actually doing this.
Start a candle group. See this
We're
page.
going to do gratefulness in
Begin.
action. Begin right there.
Or view candles.
No, begin. Okay. So
please take a deep breath and quiet your thoughts.
Right. So let's do that for a moment, and then someone volunteer. Just someone, Lauren, you're in charge of who's writing in. And who wants to be a candle lighter tonight?
I bet Jen or Seaton.
Don't be shy.
No pressure. I'm grateful for all the free offerings online, Seaton says. Seaton, you want to be our candle person tonight? Yeah, well, I can do it.
Are you going to volunteer?
Seaton says sure. Thank you, Seaton. So nothing like a little pressure.
So now, so Seaton, you've been taking a deep breath, quieting your thoughts. So hit next there, and we'll write it down what Seaton's thought is. So click on next, Lauren, if you don't mind.
Oh, okay, sure. So Seaton, you need to go to gratefulness.org, and then down at the bottom there's a section that says light a candle.
No, we'll do that for her.
Oh, okay.
So choose a candle that's not lit. So click on one of those unlit candles. There you go. And reflect for a moment on the purpose of lighting your candle, Seaton. And then you can click on next. And then you'll write your comment for Lauren to then copy into the website.
So your message, your name, and the country you live in. So, Seaton, if you want to tell me, I'll type that in for you. This is great.
Never before done.
No, we are pioneers in the lighting candle on gratefulness.org. Little things like this can really just, I don't know. I love little things like this. Gratefulness.org is a great resource. It's all gratitude. So I'm in heaven. Oh, I forgot to show. Well, maybe it's not the right time.
We'll show the video.
I wanted to show my shirt.
Oh,
it says, "The struggle ends when gratitude begins."
There you go.
I don't know. Amazon keeps making all these gratitude shirts, and they always say like, "There's this one woman that buys every gratitude shirt."
So does Seaton have a comment?
Not yet.
Gratitude.
Well, she's got, I'm grateful for all the free offerings online. We could put that in.
Sure.
Okay. Oops. Let's do that. Oh, what did I do? Here we go. Find your candle so that you can find it again among the others. And she's in the United States, I know. Right. Let me just go back, make sure she didn't.
Yeah, if she has another comment.
No, not yet. Sorry, Seaton. I know that's not what you meant. Although the free offerings are a wonderful thing. Okay, good, next.
And there's nothing to stop you, Seaton, or anyone from going on to gratefulness.org and lighting another candle. I do it periodically.
Oh, she was having technical difficulties. I'm sorry. See, we totally put you on the spot. Okay, what does it say? To light the candle, click on the wick. And look, you're famous. You're already up there.
And let's see. There it is.
Aww. Your candle will stay lit for 48 hours. When you return to the candles, we invite you to also look at the messages left by others and hold their dedications in your heart.
Yeah.
So let's click on view all candles, see what it looks like. So these are names of people that have done it already, huh?
Right. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you can click on anyone and see what their gratitude is.
Oh, this one's going to make me cry. Patty Jefferson says,
Yeah.
Lord, please bless Tommy with good health in mind, body, and spirit. Thank you.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like lighting a candle in church. If you're of any religion that does that, it's similar.
Yeah. And so I would just say, if you're a person who's struggling today with gratitude or gratefulness, and it's like, how do I kickstart this thing? Go on to gratefulness.org and light a candle.
Great idea.
Take a moment of silence and contemplation and get it kickstarted. Let's show them blessings, because this is a video that's on this site.
This is phenomenal, you guys.
So this is Brother David Stendal Rast. He did a video many years ago called A Good Day, which I've shown to thousands of people that I've worked with.
And isn't that the video where he talks about I have eyes to open?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
I
that
love
video.
That.
And then maybe a year or two ago, they updated it and called it a great day, with new music and new pictures. And then just recently, he's come out with blessings, which he recorded when he was here in the States last year in Massachusetts. And I thought we would see blessings together, because it's a beautiful 5-minute video and well worth the time and
let me get rid of us so it can be bigger.
The theme here. So go ahead.
Yeah, here we go.
Maybe take Seaton's comment off.
Oh, the nose up there. Sorry, Seaton.
Do we have sound?
There's no sound?
No, I don't hear it.
Oh, no. Okay. Huh. Hang on, guys. I'm hearing it. Maybe we need to go on mute. Can you hear it, Bruce?
No. Darn. There we go.
Can you hear it now? For some reason, my headphones were the problem.
Whatever it be, bless it because it exists. You need no other reason. Source of all blessings, you bless us with breath. In and out, in and out, ever renewing us, ever anew making us one with all who breathe the same air. May this blessing overflow into a shared gratefulness, so that with one breath I may praise and celebrate life. Source of all blessings, you bless us with humility, that down-to-earth quality that has nothing in common with humiliation, but makes us stand tall and acknowledge both the humus that feeds us and the stars to which we aspire. May I learn to practice and to honor in others this sparkling humility, which is the dignity that we as human beings cannot afford to lose. Source of all blessings, you bless us with imprecision, with all that is vague, close but not quite, all that leaves room for the more specific, the more precise, and room for imagination. May I know when to be exact and when to move freely, and blessed in the space so generously provided by all that is not perfectly defined, giving full scope to my dreams and my creativity. Source of all blessings, you bless us with memory, that sacred ingathering of the past that allows us to recognize faces, learn poems by heart, find our way back when we're lost, and bring forth old and new from its nearly inexhaustible store. May I know what to forget and what to retain, and treasure keeping in mind the smallest kindness shown to me and spreading its ripples for a long time to come. Source of all blessings, you bless us with change. In the seasons of the year, from snow to gleaning, flowering, fruiting, and harvest. In the seasons of life, from childhood to youth, full ripeness and saging. All living things keep changing. May I welcome change as a sacred opportunity to grow and savor in each unrepeatable moment in its fleetingness what is beyond change. Source of all blessings, you bless us with departures, for they are a necessary part of our journey, necessary for the arriving. May I always be ready to take leave, always aware that every arrival is a prelude to departure, every birth a step towards dying. And may I thus taste the blessings of being fully present where I am. May blessings help to sharpen your taste for the gift of life in its immeasurable facets. May you grow ever more blessed, ever more able to bless.
Oh, I thought that was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh, well, can you guys see this page? Chronic Pain Anonymous. Am I not sharing that? It popped up on my, hang on. It popped up on my screen because I wanted to share that too, and we got to talking about it. Deborah Immer Scott says she lit a candle. Wonderful idea. Thank you.
Good. There's so much to explore on that site. And I just wanted everyone to get a taste of it because we're sitting at home. We have our computers to connect us to the wider world, and they can be used to connect us to gratefulness and to the wider world of gratefulness as well. So that
Absolutely.
was sort of thinking there.
I'm so proud of the members of AOG, and I know your members are very active too. His group, by the way, is called Black Duck Moments for Recovery. It's a fantastic book of daily affirmations. I think I showed it earlier. Daily affirmations for those with chronic pain. And he's been doing a special treat for us this month in April. Every morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, he reads that day's affirmation. I'm a huge fan, and I'm trying to get him to do it in May as well.
Yeah, I may. Let's see what tomorrow is. I forgot already. It's connection. That's
something I wanted to talk about too. I know we're at the hour, but we can keep going a little bit. We haven't really lost many viewers. Thank you guys for being here with us. I know your time is very valuable. Arlene Hildred, I love the visuals that are accompanying the blessings. I did too.
Yeah. And
love his soothing voice. Yep.
So I would encourage, if you like that one, there's another one called A Good Day, a Great Day. They're beautiful too, and they're short like that. Beautiful music, beautiful images, and well worth watching. There's a lot on there.
Tell us the story behind the black ducks.
Oh,
what's with all the ducks?
Well, I like. Do you want the story that I created or the true story?
Oh, I didn't know there was any truth to any part of the story, but
well, the concept was that a long time ago in Europe, there were white ducks everywhere. There were white ducks in the rivers and the streams and the lakes overhead, and people just assumed that all ducks were white. If they saw one white duck that was waddling and quacking, all ducks were white. This is, just kind of inference and inductive reasoning. If you saw 1,000 white ducks, you assumed all ducks were white. And then one day, a peasant saw a black duck, and it was a mind-blowing paradox. Not all ducks are white. And so when we have chronic pain and chronic conditions, we tend just to see these white ducks, which I see as our pain and our suffering and our habitual mind. We're blinded in many ways to these unique exceptions, these black duck moments. And what happened was, in California, when I was doing this work, I was sitting with a young man, and he was telling me that his back was killing him and he was in constant pain. And he really, really believed this. But the thing was, I had, from my office that very morning, heard him laughing in the pool out back. I'd gone to my window, the patients were in a pool, and they were all laughing. So I said, well, it's interesting to me because I heard you laughing this morning. And he said, well, yeah, so-and-so told a joke and it was funny and I was laughing. And the way he was sitting in my office, I could see over his shoulder into the hallway because my door was open and there was no one else around. And out in the hallway on the wall was in the building that we did the treatment center work at, which was an old bed and breakfast house, Tudor house. There was a painting of a black duck and a white duck in a pond. And it caught my eye. And so I said, let me tell you a story. And then I told him this story, which I just created on the spot. But then I said to him, when you were laughing, were you thinking about your pain? And he had to think about it for a moment. And he said, no, I wasn't. And then I said, Well, then I would argue if you were not thinking about your pain, if you were not aware of your pain in that moment, you had no pain, because pain is physical. I mean, everyone I've ever worked with, I've never doubted their physical pain. But
I remember when you told me that, I got very defensive because I thought the same thing, that I was in pain all the time. And when you said, no, I would argue that, you're not. I got very defensive. I remember. I don't know if others were like that too, but
almost everyone.
Yeah.
But pain has to be filtered through your brain. If you're unaware of it, then I can make the argument you don't have it in that moment. And even if that moment's 10 seconds long while you're laughing, for you then to turn around and say you're in constant pain is inherently a lie that you're telling yourself. No, there were 10 seconds from your own lived experience where you had no pain. And that's a door that people can then walk through and begin to observe other moments during the day when they're not in pain. Maybe when they're meditating, maybe when they're laughing, watching a movie on TV, having a conversation. There are many moments throughout one's day where you may not be aware of your pain and therefore don't have pain. So these kind of cognitive thoughts, I'm in constant pain, my pain is killing me, these keep us one down. They put us in a victim state. And we don't think about our own thinking. But once we begin to think about our own thinking, then we can begin to recognize that we are more than just our thoughts. We're more than just our pain. And there may be many moments that we experience, whether deliberately or just by accident, where when we reflect back on them, we go, wait a second, I wasn't having any pain in that moment. At Silver Hill, we had a guy who was always in pain. And then he was in the gym, in the big gym there, and he was throwing the Frisbee around. And he came up to me and he said, I realized when I was throwing that Frisbee around, I wasn't thinking about my pain. It was a big breakthrough for him.
Yeah.
So.
And I was laughing with my roommate, Jackie, who used to be an admin in the group. And, we had a 20-year age difference, but man, we hit it off. And I didn't think I would laugh again. I thought my life was really over, that I was scum of the earth, because I was a drunk driver who didn't hurt anybody, thank God. I feel like I always need to add that in there, but I didn't, but I could have. But yeah, we were laughing and eating Skittles and just having a great time. And I remember that was the first time I kind of recognized a black duck moment.
Right. And then what I say to people is, maybe it's just a little duckling that you find. And your job is to become a farmer for black ducks and to raise these little ducklings into these beautiful big flocks of birds that you can surround your life with. And it's not going to make your pain go away. It's not going to be a substitute for anything else. But it's a way to develop a new language of experience in your life. And what I've learned from my group is how important that language is. There were people who didn't know what a black duck moment was for their whole life up until a certain moment 10 minutes ago. And now they see everything differently. And it's really, for me to sit back, and it's just a thing I'm deeply and profoundly grateful for, that people are taking on this language, this metaphor, and running with it and using it and understanding it so deeply that they can share these black duck moments with each other. And it's our like little private little farm that others, I wish 10,000 other people knew about it, but it's just our little group, but they get it. And and again, it's not to minimize anyone's real pain, but it's to enhance the quality of their life. It's to look at that wholeness rather than the shatteredness piece. So.
Yeah, it's a great group. I've been a member since the beginning. I just put up Bruce's contact information again. The Facebook group is called Black Duck Moments for Recovery. And your Twitter and your Instagram accounts.
Thank you.
Are right there.
I know we've run long. Can I read a poem to finish?
Yes. Yeah, we got a comment. I wanted to, hang on. Where did I go? Oh, Denise said, love this, too much to leave. So they want us to keep going.
Okay.
we'll try to do a couple more minutes and wrap it up because there's so much to talk about, but
Yeah.
we don't want to exhaust everybody.
No. So I wanted to read a poem by Eleanor Lerman, who's a poet who had a lot of success at a young age, but then was sort of criticized for the nature of her poems and sort of retreated to the background for many years, but more recently has been rediscovered and has been writing poems. And this is a poem called Starfish. And I chose it from the American Poet site, poets.org. It's a gratitude poem, but it doesn't just hit it on the head, which is probably the kind of poem I would write. It would just be like, be grateful. But this one's called Starfish. So if you'll indulge me.
Yes.
This is what life does. It lets you walk up to the store to buy breakfast and the paper on a stiff knee. It lets you choose the way you have your eggs and your coffee. Then it sits a fisherman down beside you at the counter who says, last night the channel was full of starfish. And you wonder, is this a message finally? Or just another day? Life lets you take the dog for a walk to the pond where whole generations of biological processes are boiling beneath the mud. Reeds speak to you of the natural world. They whisper, they sing, and herons pass by. Are you old enough to appreciate the moment? Too old? There's movement beneath the water, but it may be nothing. There may be nothing going on. And then life suggests that you remember the years you ran around, the years you developed a shocking lifestyle, advocated careless abandon, owned a chilly heart. Upon reflection, you're genuinely surprised to find how quiet you've become. And then life lets you go home to think about all this, which you do for quite a long time. Later, you wake up beside your old love, the one who never had any conditions, the one who waited you out. This is life's way of letting you know that you are lucky. It won't give you smart or brave, so you'll have to settle for lucky. Because you were born at a good time, because you were able to listen when people spoke to you, because you stopped when you should have and started again. So life lets you have a sandwich and pie for your late night dessert, pie for the dog as well. And then life sends you back to bed, to dreamland, while outside the starfish drift through the channel with smiles on their starry faces as they head out to deep water, to the far and boundless sea.
That's beautiful.
That's Eleanor Lerman, Lerman.
That's beautiful. How long ago did you find that?
Not too long ago. I'm always looking for new poems. I'm doing an album of spoken word and music. You know, I do music, and this is for me a new thing I'm doing, which is I'm taking my poems and reciting them over my music. So it's either the craziest thing I've ever done or the riskiest, I don't know. But it's called Compassioning. I've done about 5 poems. I've got maybe 1 or 2 more to do, and then I'll eventually release the album. I'll let you know.
Yeah, you're a musician too, aren't you?
Yeah, so I'm looking at reading a lot of poems, and this is one that just caught my eye because of the theme of gratefulness. There's so much to be grateful for.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. Deborah Amer Scott, I'm adding this site to my groups. Great. Bye, Heidi. Thanks for coming. Facebook user, thank you again. You're welcome. Loves Denise Seaton. I call one of my nieces Ducky because she smiled so big and said, I'm your black duck, after I told her the story. That is so cute. Arlene, wow, mind blown. I know, right? Thank you, guys. I know I said in the beginning, but I love how interactive we are in this. It makes it much more fun than, just talking. We want to hear from all you guys. We figure out how to get through this pandemic right now. Pandemic, because a lot of us were kind of perhaps you were kind of in quarantined already due to whatever's going on with you. And now you've got this. Maybe your life didn't change that much.
Yeah, people with
Maybe
chronic
it
pain
did.
were well prepared for isolation and being
Oh, yeah.
the masters of that.
We're getting a little laugh from people that are like, I can't believe this. And just a little chuckle. Not that we wish harm
Welcome
on
to my
anybody.
world.
I look for black ducks without thinking about it anymore. Yes, you do, Deborah. Love the
Thank
group. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Deborah.
Bruce, from Judith. Bruce, you are so talented. Thanks for sharing with the world to bring healing. Much gratitude to you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to, God, there's so much to talk about with gratitude, but I wanted to talk real quickly on connection, which we've talked about a little bit already. Your group gives people an opportunity to connect. My group gives people an opportunity to connect. And there's also, let's see if I can get up here. You mentioned Chronic Pain Anonymous. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
I mean, it's a 12-step group where people work through the steps with the understanding that it's not alcohol necessarily that they're powerless over, but it's pain. And so it's a fellowship that looks at the emotional and spiritual aspects of living with a chronic condition and how you can progress toward a greater understanding and spirituality, greater acceptance, and giving back, paying it forward through the process of working these steps. And it's Chronic Pain Anonymous. So some of you may have experience in rooms like AA, and this is just another version of that. It doesn't really care if you're on a medication or not on a medication or using something or not using something. That's not part of it. In virtually all the meetings are virtual. They're like this. They're online meetings. And there are people from all over the world who participate in these. So it's a chance for you to get greater fellowship. If this interests you, check it out. Check it out once or twice. Try different meetings.
The website is very informative.
Exactly.
And there's all sorts of different kinds of meetings. There's Zoom meetings like we do for our chats, phone, online. They have face-to-face ones if you have one near you. So there's an option for everybody. And the Zoom meetings have gotten quite a lot. So you could check it out and see if you like it. A lot of our members go already.
And then there's also the U.S. Pain Foundation. There's the Mighty. There are different, you've written for that, Lauren. There are different other ways to connect virtually, if you're stuck at home, to other people who understand and get it. And there are ways to become an advocate, to become a voice, to not be so invisible. That's a big part of U.S. Pain Foundation. I sit on their medical advisory staff by way of disclosure. So it's there are options available to you out there. And I would encourage you to find your way if that's what interests you. If it doesn't, it doesn't, but that's fine too. But if you're looking for a way to connect and maybe do something that's bigger than you, get engaged in something that's more than just your own self, where you could be suffering, but you could extend yourself and find connection and a kind of healing. Those opportunities are out there. And I wanted to come here tonight and share the gratefulness.org. That can be a starting place because they need help too. The U.S. Pain Foundation, CPA's fellowship. There are all of these different ways. And I would just urge anyone who's got the interest and the time and a willingness to give it a shot. Why not? You've got nothing.
You never know what's going to work for you, right? And we always have that hope.
I'm pointing at my finger here, but I'm really pointing at this woman who's in the box beside me, who came into a pain clinic.
I'm like, who's in the box beside you?
You. With the worst possible attitude a person could have, like the show me attitude, like this is all BS. And look how her life has changed. It's like, and Lauren, you're a great example of this. You're not the only one. You're just the one doing this. But many people I've worked with have gone on and had life-changing experiences based on making that shift of consciousness and perspective. So if she can do it, any of you, that's all I'm going to say.
It's true. I'm very grateful.
I'm never going to be invited here again.
No, we have so much more to talk about. I think we have to wind it down because you guys have all hung in with us. I can't believe it. You wonder why I go so long. This is why, is with the interaction. It's just so wonderful. I didn't read Arlene's. I will be looking for my black duck every day. Good girl.
Good.
Much gratitude to you both. I'm grateful to you both for sharing. Thank you.
And
Gail, thank you both for all you do.
And by the way, I'll just plug myself for one more second.
Yes, please.
If people go to blackduckmoments.com, it's a website. There's a free downloadable PDF self-help book. It's a 14-day book. So you just do 1 page a day, and it sort of walks you through a lot of these concepts. There's a reflection and some questions, and you can answer the questions. And it's an opportunity to just go a little bit deeper into this work of self-help around dealing with chronic pain from this kind of perspective. So
cool.
blackduckmoments.com.
Yeah, not a lot of people seem to talk about all this stuff. So it's very refreshing, I think, when, when there's something different to deal with the emotional. So I've got Bruce's information again back up here. Can you come back very soon?
Sure.
We have so much more to talk about. I wanted to talk about, connection and just all that stuff. We touched on a lot of it, I think. We just have a good give and take. But I know our members are hungry to learn more things to do, so they can try what works for them and what doesn't. And I didn't have any major technical difficulties. Well, except the sound on the video.
Figured it out.
Yeah, I just unplugged my earbuds. I'm not sure why that was, but thank you everybody for being here tonight, and for those that are going to see it later. I think I said everything with Bruce. He's got this wonderful book, 11 a.m. on his at Eastern time in his group.
Yeah,
he reads the daily affirmation.
Right.
I'm an addict to it. It helps. Yeah. It's great. They're all relating to living with chronic pain. They're great. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bruce. This was great.
Thank you. Be safe, be healthy.
I need like an entrance song and an exit song.
You do. I'll write something for you. And the rest of you who I'll see tomorrow at 11, I can't wait. We're going to talk about, what was the topic for tomorrow?
Yeah, you did say it. And it was a good one. I remember. Oh, well, I could just look it up, silly.
Connection.
Connection, right, which we didn't talk about tonight. So it's like a God moment.
Yes. So I'll see you. Right. We'll make a connection tomorrow at 11. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, everybody. I love you all. Peace. Peace and love. And somebody last week told me, I can't believe you don't end with good night, Grateful Gang. So I'm going to end with good night, Grateful Gang. Love you all. Thanks for tuning in with us. Have a good night. Bye.